I've got hopes for the large scale of this fight. Like I'm hoping it's gonna go at least for another 2 to 3 chapters with around like a full chapter. Like my idea is 3 chapters total, but like a full chapter of that is like a flashback, maybe a little bit more. Maybe we see that Laxus once physically in interaction with the coffin that has Alexion's soul in it, that maybe he saw flashbacks as to what exactly happened with him, not Eleftheria rather, but Georg and Alexion. I was gonna say, like, some of these names close, not the same thing. Alexion and Eleftheria, those weird e names. Either way, with that, because Georg, like, the only way I see us getting any information about him, unless like he's somehow still alive, like that whole like Phoenix theory is in fact true, but otherwise I could see us getting flashbacks and information about him, well, sorry, through the other characters rather, and through those flashbacks getting an actual insight on this character. Because I mean, there's still value, like, just because we're not going to see him in the continuous story, it'd be cool to get him as a character in the verse if we actually get backstory and the like bits of what he did and like where exactly like he has influence for like the characters and like what he, the relationship between them and him and whatnot. There's still value we can get out of him, even though we're not going to get to probably see anything of him going forward again outside of memories from other characters, because it seems like Laxus has a personal thing about letting the soul of Lexion out. He might just want to do it. Maybe he sees it as a tortured soul he wants to set free. Maybe it's like one of those things he's felt the emotions of it. Maybe it's something, about the dragon that he can kind of vibe with. I really like the idea, though, that Laxus saw, like, information, like, again, memories of the soul, and we then would see, like, what exactly happened in the flashback, not from Kirin, but from Laxus, who's seeing it from Alexion's point of view, which would be really cool. Because one thing we don't have within Diablos is usually Mishima, when he has like the groups that he is laying out to be more of an antagonist setting and not like, outright villains, because there's a difference between characters who are just opposing the main cast versus characters who are outright on the, the side of bad and evil. And sometimes you can even give a little bit of a, just a little bit of credit and kind of like passing for it, like obviously Tartaros, even though they were, up to a lot of bad stuff, ultimately they were kind of doing what they were made to do, and from their perspective they were doing the right thing. So it's a little bit weird there. But Diablos has had like all characters who are ultimately not evil. They've had some parts where they've been a little rough, but for the most part they haven't been malicious and just outright bad. And I believe we might get that with Kirin. Maybe Kirin is going to play into that Jack the Ripper design and just have his story be a reveal of how he's just an unapologetically evil guy. I could see that as well, especially with, like, we don't really have anything outright evil from any of them. There usually got to be at least one. Misaki seemed to have a cruel side to her, but at the same time, like, we don't have anything to say like she is just evil. Maybe we'll get that with Kirin if he was like a murderer even before, like, being tied into events in the story. But like, it's gonna be weird to see in general how this fight is gonna kind of play out, because it's a weird matchup. Obviously, like, they have the same power in theory. It's not like, Natsu and Zenkro, where it's like, yeah, they both had fire, but one is a dragon slayer, one's a god slayer. And it's not even like what it was before. It's like, okay, they're both dragon slayers, one is atmosphere control and one is lightning. It seems like, okay, no, they both are not only lightning, and Kirin seems to be more so branched out, which I wonder if would Laxus be able to gain like the whole atmosphere manipulation and maybe become a Storm Dragon Slayer. Like, I know some people have talked about the speculation with that, but with the setup right now, like I said, it's weird because it's not like, oh, they're both in the same kind of attribute but different dragon slayers. Like, no, they seem to be from the exact same dragon. So for them, it's really just going to come down to the wire of, of their own individual capabilities. Elemental advantages aren't going to be that much of a thing here. It seems to be entirely just based off of the strength. And you can see from like these two panels, this is a good panel to show that it's not unrealistic for Laxus to have a chance. Obviously, Laxus is the one who is at the underdog position. Like, it's very clear Kieran is stronger than him, but it's not like Kieran is unfazed. Nothing has really happened to him. He has taken damage. It's just that it's clear that Laxus is not as powerful as Kieran. There are a few things obviously under his belt that he can still pull out. Like, he hasn't used Red Lightning Dragon mode, and there is still the possibility of him getting like an actual like non-shitty version of Dragon Force that would really let him close the gap. Because one of the things about the Dragon Eaters that is legitimately a huge crutch is the fact that they cannot use Dragon Force kind of casually. They can't just use it in any battle. It seems to just be one of those all in, like, unless there's another character to prevent the process from continuing. Once you use it, there's no going back. Like, there's only like specific situations, scenarios where using Dragon Force is going to be anything other than a borderline sacrificial move. We don't know exactly if they gain their sanity back. When Nibiru used it, he seemed to just become completely unhinged and uncontrolled. Like, it just seemed like his mind was going into a pretty much a feral stat, like just completely primal. So like, if another character used it, and granted we don't know like how much that plays into like a more intelligent character, I imagine it'd still be the same because it's forbidden in their guild. But with Eleftheria, like, he's somebody that I feel like could give insight on it. Maybe he'll be the one to kind of give us a direct bit of information, since he has the power to pretty much just find out. But otherwise, like, Kieran I don't think is just going to use it. We might get to see somebody like maybe Kieran use it at some point, or one of Diablos just use it and not be hindered by somebody like Irene preventing it from progressing. Maybe we'll get that in this arc, and it'll be something like Kieran goes out using that or something. I don't know. Like, it's a weird one, because if a character's going to use Dragon Force, unless Irene or somebody interferes afterwards, they are pretty much going to be stuck that way. But like I said, the big question is, will they eventually regain their sanity? It's not like the other Dragon Slayers from Turn into Dragons, because we know that they had their their wits to them. They didn't just go almost like a just complete like instinct and feral status, just completely off your edge and just going like an animal. So we'll see exactly how that's going to play out. I think Laxus has some areas that he definitely has that advantage. Like I said, forms, like ways to up himself. He's only really got the one, technically two, because like he doesn't really use the Lacrima based Dragon Force anymore, but it's only like so much of a boost in comparison to the other ones. And Red Lightning Dragon mode just seems to be way more powerful for him, so like it'd be better for him to jump to that. And then after that, which I assume we're going to get, I feel like we're going to get a scene of him going into that and then it not being enough, and maybe that'll be where Laxus gets some form of upgrade, pushes himself to become even stronger, or maybe the Alexion soul will play a part in giving him the buff. I know a lot of people have had that idea. I like that idea too. I think it'd be really cool to have him like become almost like a complete Dragon Slayer. Maybe that'll be the thing with like second gen as well, is like it's some form of way for them to be advanced, but there's just extra steps. Somehow like getting the soul of the dragon or something, or some weird extra notch in like how their progression works. Either way, my biggest hopes for the next chapter, and I'll just kind of wrap it up and give like a general summary, will be like, I want there to be like just in general, some cool stuff on the fight. I want to see some cool moves between them. I'm hoping Kieran uses a couple moves outside of just like lightning. I want to see some more atmosphere manipulation. Like, I want to see him do some stuff like, not just like him doing a combination of the two, like making like a cloud, making like a storm cloud, and then maybe not just lightning, like maybe he makes it rain and then uses the water to conduct his electricity, or he uses it for like hail and kind of does the whole like enhanced pressurized hail, where it's like the strength of it is just like little bullets. And then you can even have it like digging into Dogremag's labyrinth, and maybe have that as a sign of like he's at that area where he would be able to damage somebody like Dogremag. Doesn't mean he's gonna win, but he can kind of get that edge in, and that would be like a big step for his level, as well as showing for Laxus if Laxus beat him. There's value in that, but ultimately my fingers are crossed for some form of flashback, because I really want to see what Alexion looked like and what exactly happened that what exactly happened that now Laxus seems to have like a little bit of a tone shift? Is it like if we're not gonna see the events, I think that'd be unfortunate, because there's so much value that we could get out of that. Not just like, oh, a flashback for this cool character. We can see obviously said flashback of said cool character. We can get information on Alexion, find out about obviously a big lore character as well, and then see Georg, which I think would be really cool and really beneficial to not only Diablos as a whole, but it'd be really good for a character like that, who I thought was really cool. I really did like Georg's design and a lot about his general setup. I'm fine with it if we see and find out stuff from him through the flashbacks, and that's what Mishima was planning, because that would be like, it'd still be cool, but I think it'd be kind of like funny at the same time. It's like you have this character with all this cool rich lore and like a bunch of fun stuff, but it's like once we actually got to him in the story, just because of how high he tried to swing without being prepared, he just got completely murked. I think that'll be pretty good. But anyway, other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this, and tell me your thoughts about the upcoming chapter. We're coming into 110 of 100 Years Quest, which is pretty cool, which means what, next chapter, like the one after that, 111, that'll be pretty nice, just the triple numbers. And like I said, two and a half to 3 chapters, that's where my fingers are crossed, because if we can get 3 chapters, there's a strong chance that like a good chapter of that would be of a flashback. If it's like 2 chapters, I'm hoping for at least half a chapter flashback, but I want more than that, just because of what exactly a flashback into that would really entail to. Like, it would give us a lot of really neat stuff, and I think it would be really cool if we get something like, Jack the Ripper kind of themed, and showing that Kieran is just like a bad guy. Alexion maybe wasn't so bad, but it's just sometimes like the good guys, like the good dudes aren't gonna prevail when like met with an overcoming sense of power and like evil. Like, cause it's, well, I mean, I guess like malicious intent, because it's like we can't really look at Georg as evil. It's one of those things like with dragons in their verse, like they can kind of see him as as problems, and can go both ways. But ultimately, like between them, it's just kind of a perspective thing, because like dragons used to cause so much of a problem, so like I wouldn't really put it past someone like Georg to just kind of like go through with it, just knowing that they are a potential threat that right now we're just kind of sitting and waiting. But anyway, also it's like it'd be pretty interesting if like Alexion's been alive until a couple decades ago, like maybe like 20 years ago or something, 10 years ago. Actually, yeah, it would have to be around something like 10 to 15, just because of the time skips. But anyway, other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend, like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, appreciate you guys subscribing. Thank you all for listening. Bye.